Hi, and welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. Over the weekend, there was an absolutely stunning development with the Jeffrey Epstein case. The famous multimillionaire and accused pedophile was found dead inside his Manhattan jail cell on Saturday morning. The death is under investigation, and the coroner is confident that this was a suicide by Epstein hanging himself. But we still have some questions, and we want to dig into all of this further. Attorney General William Barr said that he will move forward with a full investigation on this. Let's listen.
I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirators should not rest easy. The victims deserve justice, and they will get it.
All right, so again, that was Attorney General William Barr. Joining us now to break all of this down is Joseph Scott Morgan, forensic death investigator. Joseph, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Joseph, since Saturday, we learned of a lot of things surrounding this. One of the things being some shortcomings with the workers in this federal prison that Epstein was in. This includes guards who didn't conduct checks, as well as records that were made that were actually inaccurate. So with all these developments, what are your thoughts on this investigation, how this will all go down with these inaccuracies and all the shortcomings that we found out about?
I'm of the opinion that heads will, in fact, roll in this particular case. This more than likely, contrary to what you're hearing about a lot of the conspiracies and this sort of thing, is in fact a suicide. However, with this one caveat, I would say that this is a suicide as a result of neglect and just I don't know. It's almost like apathy. I'm hearing stories about correctional officers who are not correctional officers. In reality, I'm hearing stories about people falling asleep on the job. I'm hearing stories about inaccuracy in logs. And, you know, for a time, we were hearing that there was CCTV footage. And apparently, that's non-existent. So it's striking to me as an investigator that you would have someone that is this linchpin in probably one of the most high-profile criminal cases in recent U.S. history, and they can't even keep this guy safe from his own self. I've seen attorneys for the government beat their chest in front of microphones, this sort of thing, talking about how we're going to prosecute this guy and we're going to go after everybody involved. You know, you can't even keep him alive. And that's what's so striking about this whole thing. So it's going to require quite a bit of going over as we move down the road in this. There will be a lot of inquiries. And, you know, as it turns out, I think this might actually be an impetus for them to turn over even more rocks along the way and follow these investigative breadcrumbs.
All right, Joseph, thank you. Well, one of the other things that we learned is that Dr. Michael Baden is consulting as the private pathologist who observed Epstein's autopsy. This was on his lawyer's behalf. And Dr. Baden is the husband of our host, Linda Kenny Baden, here at Law and Crime. So first off, why did they need to bring an outside expert for additional investigation and support on this? Why do that?
Well, I'll tell you precisely why. I'm of the opinion that the more eyes you have on a case like this, the better it is. An in-custody death, and Epstein, make no doubt, Epstein's death is in fact an in-custody death, just like you have somebody that's in the back of a patrol car, someone that's in control of the authorities, like any other citizen. He died in custody. That means in care of. So yeah, I'm fully on board with Dr. Mike, as I like to refer to him as, being present. He's one of the giants in forensic science and highly, highly regarded. If we had a Mount Rushmore, his face would be on it. And Dr. Sampson, who is equally highly regarded as the chief ME for New York, she's there, and they're going to do a thorough job. But you need as many views from the perspective of this as possible, because these autopsies are highly, highly detailed. They go above and beyond anything that, say, our viewers are familiar with relative to any other kind of death. I've been involved in a number of in-custody death investigations as well as the autopsies, and you cannot believe how long it takes to complete the prosection. It is a tedious event with a lot of testing that goes on. We're still waiting to find out from a toxicological standpoint what Epstein had in his system, which is very important, isn't it? Because he's apparently suffering from some level of depression, obviously. I want to know what types of medications he was on. What had he ingested, or what has he not ingested that he was supposed to be provided with to provide watch care over his mental health?
All right, that's an interesting question. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned the shortcomings of these guards and the logs maybe being kept inaccurately and things like that. If these guards were, as many outlets are reporting, sleeping on the job, I'm assuming there's a protocol of when and how often they're supposed to be checking on these people. If they did follow this, and if they were supposed to check on him every half hour like it's been reported, could they have possibly stopped all of this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All it would take, all it would take is that you walk by the guy's door every 15 to 20 minutes and stick your head in the porthole just to see if this guy's chest is still rising and falling. And from what I'm hearing, at first we were talking about, cots built into the wall. We're talking about faucets and fixtures that are flush with the wall. From what I'm hearing, he's got a bunk bed in there, and he was still provided with a sheet. Angelica, I've worked a number of cases in jailhouse deaths where individuals literally hung themselves with a sheet. It's easy to make a ligature out of this. This guy's suffering from major depression. It's no great intellectual leap here to think that he could have in fact taken his own life. One other thing that's kind of interesting here as well is we got to think back to the 23rd, 24th of July. Remember, at that point in time, they were talking about these other injuries that had occurred to the neck. Now, it's been really unclear if this was an attempted hanging. They've also used the word attack. So at this autopsy we talked about that Dr. Bodden and Dr. Sampson are handling, in that context, they literally have to go back retroactively and look at this resolving injuries that he had back on the 23rd. These things will be healing. They'll be older as opposed to the fresher injuries that occurred. And you have to see, well, are those injuries compatible with, say, a ligature strangulation, like somebody trying to hang themselves? Or was it maybe a C-clamp or a throttling where somebody actually attacked him? So there's all kinds of stuff to unpack here, Angelica.
All right, Joseph, one last question here before we're going to take a break. We haven't talked about the victims or the alleged victims of this right now. Because Epstein is dead, will they get justice? What happens with this piece of this puzzle?
When it comes down to it, it would seem as though that this organization, at least as has been alleged in a lot of the documents, it's set up, much akin to an organized crime event, and these people were in the business of procurement of humans for sexual gratification. This seems like nothing more than an individual that was a glorified, very wealthy pimp, as it turns out, and all of his associates are involved in this flesh trade as well. And so we have to keep that in mind. I think that there are a lot of other people that are probably going to be willing to, quote unquote, sing, because so many powerful people are involved in this. At least it's been hinted at. And you're going to have people running for cover because now, at one point in time, Epstein was going to be the single focus of this thing, with all these other people playing peripheral roles. Well, these other people have a lot more to lose because they don't have the financial resources that Epstein had, for instance. I think they're going to go at them hard and heavy, and I think that, just like Barr said, they better not take a breath. They better not rest because they're coming after them.
All right, more after the break. Joseph, thank you so much. Stay with us here on Law and Crime. We have plenty more to get to.